Foreign students, is what they say about Americans true? I came to America from Germany and well, after you hear what happened, you will understand why I'm never coming back. Another foreign student and I befriended this local American student. We all had the same interests and humor, and the dude became a very good friend of ours. He told us all about the local area and we spent a week in the summer with him and his father at their very remote cabin near some woods. They taught us how to handle guns there and let us shoot a lot. Then fall came and we had a lot of free time due to being finished with all our papers. So our buddy proposed that we spend a few days at his dad's cabin, this time without his father. We went hell yeah because we could load up on booze and grass and have a great time there. Just living the life. 3 close dudes in the woods gaming and getting wasted. After loading up on all the supplies, the first 3 days were very calm. On the first day, just like the last time I was there, I barely slept and was generally tense. This is because I am a naturally very paranoid guy, and I often go into alert mode in situations which is often mocked by my friends. In this case, what freaked me out the most was the fact that we were far away from civilization. And you never understand how quiet your surroundings can be, until you spent some time in a remote area like this. This led to me often just standing in the dark at night, listening to the surroundings of the cabin. But after the first few days, I got less paranoid. After all, I was with friends, was constantly smoking, and we were quite armed and dangerous. Day 4 came. We spent the day attempting to hunt in the woods. Mostly just chilling under trees with a beer and rifle in hand. But in the evening it started to rain heavily. After an hour we were starting to see lightning in the distance, with quite a bit of time passing between lightning and thunder, which meant the thunderstorm itself was still some time away. So we aborted our incompetent hunting attempts and started trekking back to the cabin. It took us about an hour to reach it, due to it already being very dark and the rain creating unsafe footing. So we entered the cabin. At that time the thunderstorm was raging full on. We put away our gear and changed clothes. Except for our guns. While my non-local friend was sipping his beer, another lightning went off. He spit it out instantly after the lightning came and screamed loudly and stood up. No words, just the sound of panic. My American friend and I were instantly perplexed and looked at him. There was somebody outside. He started rambling about how in that split second the lightning illuminated the outside of the cabin. He saw a person standing a bit of distance away from the cabin, looking directly at us. My non-local friend is obviously in full panic. His face looks anxious. This communicated to our Canadian buddy and me that this guy wasn't just messing with us. He did see somebody outside. I grabbed my rifle and pulled the bolt to rack around into the chamber. I feel that warm sensation running down the spine of my body releasing adrenaline. I tried to stay far away from the window, staring into the darkness outside, but I couldn't see anything. While our Canadian friend rushed into his room to grab his pistol, I started panicking even more because I realized we didn't lock the door. Why would we? We haven't seen anyone in days and are in the middle of the wilderness. So I ran to the door and locked it. Our friend returns with his pistol, which he grabbed because there was a flashlight attached to it. He carefully approached the window, then changed his pace from sneaky to fast and pushed the window open with one hand, while the other hand was aiming the handgun outside. The light turns on. What we saw in that moment was a man, tall and slim, dressed in all black, with a hooded raincoat that he has pulled over his head, almost covering his eyes. But not far away from the cabin, just a few steps away from the window. Not standing as our friend yelled earlier, but crouching. Looking directly at us with clenched eyes and a terrifying little smirk on one side of his mouth. Another lightning flashes, and for that moment we were all frozen. The image of what we saw must have shocked the other guys as much as it did me because nobody said anything for a few seconds. There is a hard to explain dreadful feeling about seeing something like this. In a storm, in the middle of nowhere, a person dressed in a black raincoat is suddenly crouching so close to you. And facing you. Our American buddy was aiming his pistol and attached flashlight at the also frozen crouched smirking man and just yelled out, with a slight stutter and a higher pitched voice than I'd ever heard from him. Get the F away from us or we will shoot. I guess at that moment after his eyes adjusted, the raincoat man realized that this was not just a flashlight, but a gun. And I was standing next to my friend with a hunting rifle in my arm. Raincoat man's slight smirk changed to something where I am unsure if it was shock or rage. All this was happening in less than a minute. While my friend kept on yelling, and I was just frozen, the raincoat figure turned by about 90 degrees towards the nearest tree line and went from crouch to full sprint quickly. He ran away to the right side of our window. 2 of us poked our heads out of the window to see where exactly he was going, but with the heavy rainfall and darkness, we could barely make out anything in the distance of that tree line. After a few minutes of just looking at each other in disbelief, we decided to pop off a few rounds outside the window, to prove that we were for real. When the shock wore off we decided to call the police. They asked a lot of questions on the phone to describe the location of the cabin and a description of the man who just almost crept up on us, totally unsuspecting and only revealed due to lightning and luck. Due to us being in such a remote area, the cops told us it'd take at least 1 or 2 hours for somebody to come out. They asked because of the weather and time, if it'd be alright if they send somebody out tomorrow, to talk to us about all the details. Given how the man saw that we were armed, he probably wouldn't come back again. We agreed. We discussed just jumping in the truck and leaving right now. But we were too lazy to refuel the truck. The idea of doing this now, in the dark and in that heavy rain, was just too frightening. I kept thinking about this guy lurking in the darkness and picking us off one by one. We spent the night sleeping in shifts. One person was awake and standing guard, the others at least attempted to sleep. When my turn came the rain had died down. I turned off all the lights, opened a window, and just sat there in the darkness. Trying to listen for any sound I could hear, and looking out of the windows to scan the area. Let me tell you, when you're sitting in the dark for hours in full alert mode, just trying to sit still, listen, and look around, you have a lot of time to think and reiterate what just happened. The image of that crouched raincoat figure, completely wet and surrounded by darkness, so close to our cabin, is burned into my mind. I will most likely never forget this. I still sometimes turn off all the lights and just look out the windows in silence. Trying to listen for sounds. Even though I am on the other side of the world now.